Hi everyone, my name's Cathy. Welcome to Skint in the UK. Today I wanted to give you some sort of tips and tricks that my nan used to do. It's basically the way she used to live her life. So it's not straight from the horse's mouth, as you say. It's through observation and basically joining the dots. Because she never really talked about what she did, but you could actually see what she was doing, and it was just a normal part of everyday life. My nana passed on in the 80s, so she hasn't been around for a long time, but she made a big impression on my life. My mum, even though she was physically there, she was very absent. So I used to go and see my nan quite a lot, and we never talked about things in life, the serious things in life. She was always quite jolly, really. I think it's her age group. I think they were very stoic. It was like, you don't talk about things, you just sort of get on with it. So these are the observations that I made of what she did in her life, and I'm hoping that you find some of these tips useful. Right, let's start with number one. I have a little cup of drink of my coffee. I'm trying to warm up, it's a bit cold today. Okay, so she always had a pot on the stove, and you never knew what was in it. It was like, not quite a witch's cauldron, but you know what I mean? It was just like, what was in it one day would be completely different by the end of the week. She was just constantly adding to it. It was always on a slow heat. And when she got a pension during the week, she would just like really stock it up. And then throughout the week, she would throw bits and bobs in, like a potato chopped up or some veg chopped up. Like in tough times, and I know that now, it wasn't mentioned at the time, she would throw things in that I would never dream of eating, like giblets, chicken necks. It was really just like the really, really basic, poor, cheap meat that you could get hold of. It wasn't like bits of steak or nice pieces of chicken fillet. It was just like really, really bargain basement stuff that you might possibly give these days to your dog, not to a person. So she always had that pot on, and now and again you could hear her mumbling that it kept her alive, which is sad and heartening, really. But at the time I never thought, because I was a little kiddie, and I just thought that's just the way she lived her life. Number two, she would wear what they used to call in the old days a house coat. So it's sort of like what I've got on here, like a roby type thing, to keep her clothes clean. And around that, she would wear a waist apron, a tie apron around her waist, to keep her actual nice clothes clean. So she wasn't washing them all the time, I presume. And I presume the house coat was basically a way of keeping her warm. I know she would make the aprons herself from old clothes. I don't know if you have them in the States or Canada or Australia, but in the 60s and 70s and early 80s, it's not a thing anymore. There were jumble sales where people would have like big piles of clothes on tables, and you would like pay like 50p for a bag full or something like that, on bric-a-brac and stuff. They just don't do jumble sales anymore. I think they need to bring them back, because like, it's a way of people getting rid of their clothes and someone else finding a use for them. So her and my mum were always at jumble sales. I just remember she used to have a little trolley and pull on this trolley along and stuff it full. So yeah, jumble sales. I suppose what they would have now these days would be a yard sale, or you just go to a charity shop or a thrift store where they've got piles of clothes on racks these days. That's it, isn't it? She would make tea towels and cloths from old clothes, like men's shirts. That's where I got the men's shirt from. She never told me to do that. It's just what I saw. And she used to like cut them up, and she would sew seams on the sewing machine, so like they were proper cloths and they wouldn't fray. And she used to use them for like polishing the glasses, like men's shirts, because it's thin cotton. Because she thought I could see in her eyes. She used to like be sitting there polishing her drinking glasses and things like that. with these shirts and tea towels as well, which she'd hang over the stove. She'd have where she lived, because she lived in the same street as us, and they just have backyards like where I am now. In Liverpool, it's quite common to have a backyard rather than a back garden. Only like semi-detached or detached houses have a garden. These are all terraces. So my nan, even though where we used to live was massive houses with double cellars and double attics, they generally just had a backyard. If you're lucky, there might be a little patch of grass. And she would grow potatoes, carrots and onions. That's all she ever grew, potatoes, carrots and onions. So I think that was just things to throw into the pot and keep it going. So growing your own is not a new thing, really. I think until hard times, people always turn to growing their own. It's a thing now again, unfortunately. She's like myself, she was always crocheting blankets. Crochet, crochet, crochet. Everywhere you looked in her living room, there was blankets thrown on the sofa, thrown on the chair, in a pile on the corner, half done. There was always blankets on the go. So she would reluctantly give them to family if they really needed them, but I think she was selling them to make a bit of money. And I think that's why there was always a pile of jumpers in the corner as well, because I think she would unravel them, as we've spoken about before, to make blankets and things. She used to do big massive ones, so it was like a proper big bed cover, a throw for the bed, and they were in every room, every bed had one. So she must have fastidiously crocheted all the time, and she's like me, she had knobbly hands, so it was probably through wear as well as age. And I never saw her buy any wool, so it must have always been she unravelled things. I would never actually see proper balls of wool with the little paper piece round and the label. No, I think she must have always done that. She would only ever wear boots, and funny enough, I've become like that. I think because boots last longer than a flimsy pair of shoes. Like in the 80s when I was a teenager, everyone tosses around in stiletto shoes, high heel shoes. And they totally trash my feet, especially as I've got really wide feet. So I'd squeeze my feet into these shoes and toss it around. So yeah, she always wore boots, I noticed, and she always seemed to have the same ones, so she must have done what I did and got them heeled frequently so they'd last longer. I'm constantly in boots since I've had the dog, particularly because I'm always walking the dog every day, so it's just if I'm in the park, walking through the grass, in the mud, it makes sense to have boots. And then I'm traipsing down to the shops all the time, so I need comfortable footwear. I could not go down the shops, I don't know about you, in a little pair of tossery high heels just to go to Asda. It wouldn't be happening. Another thing she was always doing was cutting up sheets into squares. Always had sheets, yeah. Her living room was just like a crafter's paradise because there was always jobs on the go, little projects. So she'd cut them into sheets, into squares. They'd be hemmed, and she used to put embroidery in the corner. So there were, I think she was making handkerchiefs, tablecloths, napkins, all that sort of thing. In them days they would call it pin money. So it wouldn't bring in a great deal of money, but it would be something that she knew was a constant stream of income. She would paint all the rooms herself, move the furniture herself, renovate furniture herself. I used to be in upholstery years ago and I used to renovate furniture. I don't do it anymore because it's just not worth the hassle. People want things for next to nothing in the UK. They're just not prepared to pay the money. And if you're upholstering, it costs a lot of money because you've got to have flame-proof fabric to cover over all the upholstery materials and the foam and the wool and the Dracon and all the rest of it. Unless I'm doing it for myself, I tend to not do it anymore because it's just people want it for 5p. Or they have the audacity, you see it up for sale somewhere else and they're charging 2, 3, 4 times the price. So you've done all the work and they're getting all the profit. So it's just like, nah, we'll be doing that. So she would do that for herself. So I definitely get me independent and do it yourself streak from her. My mum would never do anything. My mum would just, no. She wouldn't get it done. It wouldn't be done. End story. I seen her once. I don't know if it was a regular thing, but I seen her once. She made a jacket from a blanket, like a blanket coat, blanket jacket. And she was trimming it in dog's tooth fabric. I think they call it hound's tooth now. And she was going on, and I remember when she was making it, she was going on about this dog's tooth fabric. So I think she liked it because it was smart. She dyed it as well. So it was like a really dark navy blue, and with this little trims like on the pockets and around the back of the neck. It looked really smart, really professional. She must have spent spent a fortune in time making it. She would use old curtains on the covers, as covers on the seats on the sofa and the chair. She had a 1920s sofa, so it's like a club sofa, but it wasn't tufted, it didn't have the buttons. And she'd cover the seats with the fabric. And every time you went, there was different curtains on it. And eventually, she'd made proper cushion covers. And then, I think because she thought they were precious, she covered them again it was just ingrained in it, cover the seats with old curtains. So there was always curtains on the seats. And there was always lots of crochet blankets thrown over the back of chairs, over the back of the sofas. So it was just like, it was constant evidence everywhere of all their crafting skills. She always had a big bag of zips and jars of buttons. So these clothes that she was buying to disassemble to make stuff with, she always took all the buttons off and the zips off. There was always a big carrier bag full of zips. Yeah, so like the lady I mentioned the other day with the buttons, it's just my man and me nan. She would mend and repair everything. She would never dream of throwing something out. It would either be made into something else or would be repaired, or she'd adjust it to fit. It never got wasted. These days she would be appalled, like the likes of Timu and Shane, whatever you pronounce it. Her clothes are worn once and thrown. She would be utterly appalled. And then the last tip and trick she would have, every day she would have a shot of whiskey. She said to keep the cold out and a smile on her face. So I think that's sage advice, don't you? If you're not a drinker, clearly not. But this is a little old lady in her 60s. I think I kept it going with the pot of stew. If you call it stew. Pot of something. Hubble bubble, boil and trouble. And a shot of whiskey every day. So there you go. There the observations are made of me nana. I love me nana. She was always laughing. Always singing. She was always singing. Yeah, and it wasn't until I dug into the family tree and stuff. Her life was just a travesty. But she kept going. She really kept going. So I think we've got a lot to learn from their generation. Okay, they weren't as open about the feelings, but they got on with life. They made do with the limited resources they had, and I think we're in those times again. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Did you pick up any of your crafting skills or DIY skills from your nana? Because I know I did. And I'd be really interested to see if you drop me a line in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. Bye for now.